On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, we're talking brackets. Payton and I, just us two to start, and then Payton and Kenny finish the show with quick hits. But yeah, tons of bracket talk. We talked about Mizzou getting Drake. We're going to preview the matchup later this week. We'll have a special show. We're not going to wait till Friday. Obviously, we'll do another show before the game and actually preview Drake, talk about the matchup and all that stuff. But we just previewed Mizzou's path in the NCAA tournament because they got a 6 seed, talked about that, just gave our reactions to where they ended up, their draw, who they could potentially play later on if they beat Drake, all that stuff. Just a ton of bracket talk. Talked about the whole thing as well and made some picks, made some predictions. It was a good convo there. And then Payton and Kenny took you guys the rest of the way, or we'll take you guys the rest of the way with quick hits. So great show. It's bracket time. So excited for March Madness to be back. So excited that Mizzou's a part of it. Like I said, we will have another show later this week before the Drake game, and we will actually do a deep dive on Drake and Mizzou, the matchup, and talk X's and O's and all that stuff. So for now, enjoy bracket reaction. The Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Payton, and happy March Madness to all you wonderful people out there. The bracket is finally out. I'm so excited. Me and Payton, Kenny loves it a lot too. Payton, you and I text all the time about college hoop. So I know you're just excited as I am that we're finally to this point in general. And obviously, we're excited because Mizzou is going to be a part of this year's festivities, which I don't know. It was funny. Like it was one of our friends texted us, and it was like a look back. You know, we thought 8 wins was the key to get in the NCAA tournament for the SEC, and the SEC ended up fielding 14 teams, and I think Oklahoma has 6 wins and is an 8 seed.
So does Texas, yeah.
Texas as well.
Before you count the tournament, of course.
Yeah, right. So. You know, Mizzou obviously exceeded our regular season expectations, and they're now in the tournament field. They surpassed the 8 wins they needed to surpass, but they even that seemed to be too low of a threshold because the SEC was just really good. But Mizzou's in the tournament. They will play their first game on Thursday. We will have like a deeper preview of that on Wednesday. We're gonna record and we'll drop that for the day of the game. And yeah, so we'll do a deep dive into Drake, who they're playing in the first round. For that, we'll talk more matchup specific stuff. But I thought we should just do kind of opening reactions, do some tournament talk, and yeah, just riff about the NCAA tournament. Mizzou's path here. They're in the West region, and actually, Payton, let's start there. Location, pretty darn good. Wichita, Kansas. I think it's got to be the closest one to campus. If my
Easily.
memory, yeah. I don't think there was any that were any closer. So they get Wichita. Let's start there. That's a nice little bonus. I like that arena. Payton might be in attendance, possibly for the second round game if they win.
We'll see.
So that's good. But yeah, Payton, I guess opening thoughts on Wichita, on Drake, on them getting a 6 seed. Where do you want to go first?
Let's just kind of talk about just the draw in general, because I mean, a 6 seed, just kind of the way like things ended on the regular season. You know, Mizzou was just kind of trending down in everyone's minds, mine included. But really, in bracketologist minds, I mean, they kind of just very suddenly dropped from a 5, like all the way down to a 7 in most people's minds. I mean, a couple people had them as an 8. So I always kind of thought that was a little extreme. I really thought Missouri would kind of deserve to at least be a 6. Again, like you mentioned, I think like with 14 teams being in the SEC, I think that really did kind of benefit Mizzou, because I think that kind of wears on you like, well, Missouri finished in the top half of a literal record-breaking conference. So I think that probably helped their case. in getting a 6 seed. But I mean, most bracketologists thought they were going to get a 7. A lot of people did think that this was going to be kind of the half of the region maybe that Missouri wound up in. A lot of people thought they were maybe going to get that 7-10 matchup in Providence to go face St. John's. That would have been a nightmare. But
yeah,
I'll tell you what, Knowlton, and I texted like right away when Missouri, when the first 2 games were revealed, with Auburn obviously getting the 1, but then right after that, Louisville getting the 8. That was pretty like telling to me. Like that really got my hopes back up. Yeah, they would get a 6. There were a couple others I remember seeing that like it just felt like it was going well for Mizzou. And I'll tell you what, being in Wichita, I mean, a 6 in Wichita, it was easily the best scenario for Missouri coming into today. And I even Googled this. If I'm Texas Tech, that's who Missouri would play if they were fortunate enough to beat Drake. Well, assuming UNCW doesn't do something unreal. But we did say that about Arizona Princeton a couple years ago. Less said about that, the better. Texas Tech should be kind of pissed about that because Missouri is only Columbia's 4.5 hours from Wichita. Dennis Gates said it immediately, like, hey, this is drivable, like to the watch party in attendance. He's like, we got to pack this place out. Lubbock, where Texas Tech is, obviously, they're 7.5 hours from Wichita.
Wow.
So that's a tougher drive for Texas Tech. Way more. And look, that's just another thing with getting 14 SEC teams in. They just got to throw these SEC teams in somewhere. Obviously, Missouri was not going to be the 7-10 matchup against Arkansas, which, by the way, just an unbelievable half of the bracket in general down there.
I was going to say we could talk the whole thing too.
Yeah, Cal against Self in general is pretty insane. But no, very, very beneficial for Missouri. Now, the team Drake, everyone has had Drake circled as like a Cinderella team since probably the first week of the year. They have very good win. It's not just that they dominated a lower end conference, which the Missouri Valley is also a pretty solid conference.
They beat K-State, I remember, in the non-con, and
they beat K-State. I believe they beat Vanderbilt.
Yes, they did.
I think there was a couple others in there that were pretty impressive. So Drake's a good team, no doubt about it. I will say, though, I think Missouri just on paper, and we'll get more into this on Wednesday. I'm not going to do a whole preview. I do like how Missouri matches up. I don't think, credit to Ben McCollum, the new Drake head coach. He spent a decade at Northwest Missouri State building an absolute dynasty down there. He brought 4 D2 players to Drake with him. They've had a great year. Their best players are D2, those D2 transfers. But at the same time, I don't think they match up with guys like Mark Mitchell very well. Drake also, they like to slow the game down. Again, we'll get more into this on Wednesday, but I think Missouri should have the advantage in more areas than not. I think this will be a big game for Mark Mitchell. Drake is a very good team at creating steals, so that'll be something to watch as well. But overall, I think you got to be very, very encouraged by this draw as a Missouri fan. A 6 seed in Wichita, I think, is 99th percentile outcome for them. I think a 5 was just completely out of the play. I didn't see the full seed list. I think I do remember seeing someone say that Missouri was like 23. So I think they were like the second to last 6 or something like that. So I don't think they were really ever super in serious danger of being a 7, probably, as it turns out. A lot of people thought they were. But still, just good to see that Missouri kind of got a really good draw here. I don't think that the committee disrespected Mizzou in any way. I think it does show quite a bit of respect for Missouri, honestly, that they got a 6 seed and they got a spot so close to campus.
Yeah. I love the location for sure. I think that is huge with the travel, like being the lower seed, and like you sometimes see that every so often. Like I remember a couple of years ago, I think it was the 2022 tournament. It was Iowa State had like a 5 and they were in Milwaukee and they were like the closest. I forget who they played. I think that happened one time. And it's like, yeah, when you can get that 4, 5, 6 seed, you can sometimes, luck your way into that good draw just because it sometimes is the closest spot for a team like a Texas Tech, if they're the lowest 3 or whatever. Like, so I'm glad that scenario worked out for them. I would have liked to have seen it opponent wise. I would have preferred just one of whether it was like North Carolina / I forget who North Carolina is playing again in the first four.
San Diego State.
Like if it was like one of them or like just one of the underperforming high majors, just because the low majors always, kind of scare me. And yeah, like Drake is a darling. Like you're going to hear all of the hyped up, which, Dennis, if he's smart, should probably use it as a good thing or as bulletin board material, because you're going to hear a lot of hype of Drake as a mid-major darling, like Payton said. Like, their coach has a good story. They've won 30 games this year. Like, with that said, it is going to kind of suck this week to see like all of I feel like pro Drake stuff. I'm going to see so many brackets where Drake's going to like Sweet 16 or something like that. I don't know that. So like, I would have almost rather have played or seen them play a underperforming high major, but I think you're right. On paper, it looks like it potentially could be a good game for them, and we'll preview it on Wednesday. Region as a whole, Texas Tech. I mean, what more do you like about Texas Tech? Because I look at them, they are really good. They're playing UNC Wilmington, which I don't think, if there's a 14-3 upset I'm picking, it's probably not that one. I don't think UNC Wilmington, they're not like quite like a High Point. I don't know if they'll pull that off, but yeah, I think it could have done worse for what are the other 3s again this year?
Oh, let me find like the whole bracket.
I'll look it on my tournament challenge app. This is
I don't recall for whatever reason. Oh, it's also fresh in my mind.
What do you like about Texas Tech?
I mean, Texas Tech, they have an excellent player in JT Toppin. I mean, he's one that's going to get like all the buzz. They are an excellent offensive team. I believe like they're top 10 in offensive adjusted efficiency on Torvik. I just have it pulled up here now. Effective field goal percentage is top 30. They don't turn the ball over much. They're good at getting O boards. They do not go to the line at all, which is a good thing if Missouri were to play them. But good 3-point shooting team. They're able to pull down O boards at a good rate. 2 things we've seen Missouri kind of struggle with, maybe not the 3-point shooting thing. It's kind of been back and forth, just depending on the day, really. But I mean, Missouri has obviously struggled lately at giving up O boards. They did better against it in the SEC tournament. They downright brutalized Florida, actually, weirdly enough, in the O board department. But 2 things that aren't necessarily in Missouri's favor there. I will say defensively, Texas Tech does leave a lot to be desired. They don't force turnovers hardly at all. They actually give out a pretty good amount of O boards, and they do foul a lot. So there's some things that play into Missouri's favor there. But again, I think JT Toppin is excellent. I think that in general, they're kind of a team that I don't think people thought was going to be that good, but they had some downright really impressive wins.
McCaslin, their coach, is good.
Yeah, McCaslin's really good. He's done a good job there. They're a team that actually beat Houston this year. So they've beaten the best of the best. So they do have some bad losses. They
started Big 12 play really shaky, didn't they? I feel like they
kind of. They lost to UCF in their first game and lost to Iowa State in their 4th game. So they were 2-2 at one point, but then they rattled off I think that's 7 in a row before they lost to Arizona. They have losses. They do have losses to Arizona this year. Also, they lost to TCU. That's a bad one. Lost to St. Joe's. That's a bad one, but that was early in the year. They're a strong team. Definitely not a team that I think Missouri could pull away from easily, but I do think it's a team Missouri can beat, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, so the other threes, by the way, are Iowa State, Wisconsin, and Kentucky.
Right.
So I don't know. I kind of actually, when I read those, I was like, none of those. Iowa State, I don't think I would have want to played, but I mean, I guess Kentucky, what they don't try to do, I guess the SEC, the same conference in the second round, do they? I feel like they try to avoid
Yeah, they
that.
don't. I think the only one I saw like maybe people thinking they could get was like Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin
Yeah,
would have been interesting too. That's another really good offensive team, but also has
they get to the line a
its
lot.
flaws. They do get to the line a lot. That might be a frustrating watch, but yeah, I don't mind Tech really, and I don't think it'll be a 14-3 upset scenario with UNC
No.
Wilmington, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm pretty happy overall with Missouri's draw. I think you're right. You make a good point. Like, I don't think they got disrespected by the committee or anything. Like, I think they were fairly seeded. I'm glad they didn't slip as far as, yeah, when I started seeing some people projecting them on the 8 line and then saw some of the teams that made the 8 line, like Baylor and Oklahoma, like I'm pretty glad that Missouri didn't get cast down, because that would have felt like kind of dropping a tier. And obviously, the last time, or not the last time, in 2021 when Missouri was in the tournament, they were on that 8-9 line, played Oklahoma, lost, but like that was even a hard game to enjoy because you just knew they're getting force fed to Gonzaga, which was like the number 1 overall seed that year. And so like it's nice to say, like, to look at a hypothetical second round matchup and be like, they could win that, even if overall Mizzou kind of cost themselves maybe a chance at a 3 seed after that Alabama win. But yeah, I'm excited for Missouri's bracket here. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching the games and hearing how hopefully loud they can get Wichita's arena, if the fans can go and kind of pack it out. The rest of the region, Payton mentioned it, got Kansas and Arkansas down there. First of all, it's a rematch of the game. Was it 2 years ago when Arkansas beat them? As actually an 8. I think that was an 8-1 that year. And then you've got St. John's playing the Fighting Trash Can Destroyers, the Omaha Mavericks. So that one, those are some interesting games. Wow, I can't speak. You've got, I mean, whoever wins, like you have Cal and Self, and then you have either Cal or Self against Rick Pitino. Like, talk about some kind of coaching legends there. It's pretty cool. You've got the experience on that side of the bracket versus you got like McCaslin and Gates, kind of the younger up and coming coaches in the top of the West. But that's who Missouri might face, which if I look all the way to the Sweet 16, which I know you really shouldn't do, you should look one game at a time, but man, a rematch with Kansas or Arkansas, I mean, 2 teams they've played and beat already this year. St. John's is scary. But I don't know, like, I look at the bracket like the other 2s. I mean, I guess all the 2s are just scary. They could have got Alabama again, which could have maybe been better for them than St. John's, but it's not, there's winnable games should Mizzou get that far too.
It kind of is just what it is with Missouri at this point. I think they could win maybe any of these next few games in front of them. They could absolutely lose every single one of them as well. I will say if they play Kansas again, I just really do all around think Kansas is a bad team this year. So if Kansas makes it that far, I'd feel good about Missouri's chances. I know Kansas probably would be. Look, Kansas would probably have turned a corner if they make it that far, but Missouri should have really won by more than, what was it, 9?
Yeah.
Back in December, they were killing Kansas in that game. So I don't think it will be Kansas, though. I really do think St. John's will luckily stomp out whichever team is unfortunately going to win that game. The beauty is that one of them has to lose. The shame is that one of them has to win. But I don't like either of their odds against St. John's. I think St. John's is just much better this year.
Yeah, St. John's is really good. St. John's is really good. Should we look at the top half of the West too? Look all the way forward. So Florida
it's kind of just the Florida Invitational, in my opinion. But
is it? You think Florida's cakewalk in this one?
I do. I don't. UConn is not good this year. I don't think Oklahoma is going to beat UConn really. I think Florida gets through that one pretty easily. Florida's playing Norfolk, by the way. So if you're a Missouri fan, maybe Norfolk can kind of redeem themselves a little bit in our eyes. Memphis, Colorado State is kind of a fun one. That's maybe the 12-5 of the year that a lot of people like.
In Seattle, too. That's a tough draw for Memphis.
Yeah, I do think Memphis is a good team, but Colorado State is I would not want to play Colorado State this year. Maryland, Grand Canyon, I know a lot of people are going to be trendy and pick Grand Canyon. I don't think Maryland is even going to entertain.
Grand Canyon won a game in Seattle in the NCAA tournament last year.
Yeah, but that's not the same Grand Canyon team. I think this Maryland team, Maryland is not equipped for a deep run, I don't think, but their starting five is more than good enough to get them through this game and, in my opinion, whoever wins the 5-12. And in that scenario, I would have them playing Florida in the Sweet 16, and unfortunately, I don't really see how Maryland would be able to kind of compete with Florida there. That's a bad mismatch for them. Just in terms of Maryland's not that deep. Maryland has maybe the best starting five in the country, but I don't think that they're deep at all. And Florida has very good contributors they can go to at any moment. I think they'll be able to kind of get through Maryland relatively easily.
I agree with you. I think it's probably Florida's to lose. I do wonder if what Hurley could work in that 8-1 game. I would kind of enjoy that from a coaching perspective. But you're right. I don't think UConn has the talent to hang with Florida. Not very many teams do. That's why they're a 1 seed. Yeah. Ed, should we do some like wider bracket thoughts? What's your favorite matchup that you saw from the overall tournament, whatever region?
Like just first round matchup, or are we talking?
Well, I guess we can go from there, but first round matchup that you're excited for.
First round matchup. That's a tough one. I'd have to maybe double check on that. Let me pull up the bracket again, and you give me yours while I pull up the bracket.
I'd have to look too, because I've got it in front of me. There's some good ones. I totally missed this like getting selected because I must have just been looking somewhere else. I like that 7-10 between Marquette and New Mexico for the right to play Michigan State. I think those are two really good teams, and they could give Michigan State a game. I like that one. Arkansas, Kansas is obviously super fun. We talked about that. Missouri Drake just objectively is kind of a great game too. Like I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it is.
Huh? Oh, like it's objectively.
It's a good game.
Yeah. It's a good game. Gosh, let me look. Vanderbilt St. Mary's underrated clash of styles there. Anyone who plays St. Mary's, like you kind of have to impose your will a little bit because they have such a they play slow, methodical versus Vanderbilt is kind of like Missouri. They like to speed you up. Upset wise, Purdue High Point. I love High Point. I've been a High Point guy.
That's the one I'm writing this year. I think Purdue is probably looking at a tough one there.
Yeah. You know what? I'm kind of looking at a fun 6-3 in the second round. Potentially Iowa State against Ole Miss. I like Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is a good team. And they're well coached as much as their coach is a scumbag. But that's another one. What do you like? Oh, A&M.
Yeah, Yale, I agree with
another good one.
I agree with that 6-3 actually. There's two 6-3s I'm kind of looking at. Ole Miss, I think, will beat either of San Diego State and UNC. And Iowa State's not healthy right now. They're not healthy. They lost. Oh God, I feel bad. I don't think it's Lipsy. But one of their starters, I believe, is hurt and will not play against Lipscomb.
I think it's Jones.
Is it Curtis Jones?
It might be. I can't remember.
But either way, I mean, that's a tough one because Ole Miss is a tough. Like Ole Miss is kind of like a jack of all trades and master of none. They don't do anything superbly well.
Yeah.
But there's no real, like, I guess they don't have like a big dominant big man or anything like that. But I would
disagree.
Who do you think it? Like, do you think
watch Malik Diaz tape against Alabama and tell me that's not a dominant big man?
But he's not like Diaz a bit different of a mold in my.
No, he is. Like, he is. He's
than
more
just
like
a normal like sit in the paint big man.
Yeah.
Also. And this is also a game that if I had to like pick a favorite first round matchup, VCU BYU, I think will be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
The A-10 champ's always tough. VCU, if I'm not mistaken, is very disruptive on defense. So that'll be kind of a fun clash against just a BYU team that is just an offense factory.
Yep.
BYU over your Wisconsin Badgers. That is one I am thinking about for sure. If I had to pick a Cinderella, also, I'm kind of looking at Liberty over Oregon.
Oh,
Look,
really?
man,
I think I have Oregon. I kind of like Oregon to go to the Sweet 16. I feel like they always get hot
I
in the
do
tournament.
not. I
No?
really think, and it's kind of the funny joke because Oregon has the resume and they have like the quad one wins.
Yeah.
But does anybody really think they're that good? Because I
Yeah.
really don't.
But I feel like I've done that so often with Oregon in tournaments.
I know,
And then
and
just
look,
beat
they
people.
have Dana Altman who can
Voodoo
sometimes
magic.
find lightning in a bottle in March,
Yeah.
but something about that game, I like Liberty a little bit more than I like Oregon.
That's fair.
Either way, I don't think the winner of that's getting past Arizona. If Arizona's a little bit Jekyll and Hyde, but we've seen a lot more good Arizona than bad lately.
Yeah.
And if we get good Arizona, not only do they easily make it to the Sweet 16, I think they probably are the biggest obstacle for Duke until the Final Four.
I'll throw this in there with that region. I'll be in Cleveland for those games. It's St. Mary's, Vanderbilt, and then Alabama. Robert Morris covering Bama. I have them playing BYU in Newark, so I'm with you with BYU. I have them going to as much as yes, I grew up a Wisconsin fan. I still try and root for them whenever I can. I hate the matchup of BYU for them, and so I think that's an L for the Badgers there.
Here, let me throw just like one more thing. First of all, I'm not buying into the McNeese thing this year. I'm taking Clemson in like every bracket.
Oh, okay. I like Clemson. They were good last
High
year.
Point over Purdue. I do think High Point has a potential Sweet 16 run. I always love 12-13 potential matchups, even though they almost never happen. Maybe I don't think Akron has a prayer against Arizona, really, which is a shame because I do think Akron is a good team. Yale over A&M. And look, I have so much disdain for Ivies. I don't like the Ivy League. I don't think they're true Cinderellas. But
Payton hates
if you're looking
people, let the record show.
And UC San Diego, Michigan, that's a potential 12-13 you could get. I really wish UC San Diego had got to play any other 5 besides Michigan.
Yeah.
Because I do think Michigan can absolutely lose to anyone, but I think it's more likely they win that game.
Just won the
last one I'll throw out.
Too.
I think there's a really good chance UCLA can make it to the Sweet 16. I think they can absolutely slow down Tennessee's offense. I know it's been kind of a joke, Jack, that I've kept saying like you need to just give it up. Tennessee's good. But UCLA as a defensive team, I think they'll beat Utah State, and I think they have a really good shot.
Oh, I love it.
Truly.
Yes.
I do
Keep
really
A&M and Tennessee as far away from the second weekend as humanly possible. That is my goal.
Yeah.
If nothing else.
And Illinois, we'll see what happens with them. If they're right, they have Final Four talent.
Yeah.
They have not been right in months. So I'm not gonna trust them to make a run. And quite frankly, I know that a lot of people were debating if Texas should even be in. I think Texas should be in.
Them. Texas can
I
beat
think
them.
they're going to beat Xavier, and I think they're going to beat Illinois.
Yeah. No, I've been a big Texas. Like preseason, I loved their roster. I actually think Terry's an okay coach too, even though he might get fired. But I think he's all right. But yeah, them in a possible like matchup with Kentucky as like a 3-11, I could see that for sure. And that could get really interesting because Texas did some pretty impressive stuff in the SEC tournament. I think that looked to me, it was enough for me to be like, I think they maybe have turned a corner. So I'm glad they're in the field because I think they can do some damage to some people. I love the Tennessee take. Right now, the only region I've really picked through all the way to the Final Four, I actually do have Alabama clicking at the right time and beating Duke, going back to San Antonio. That's my one pick right now. I think their draw is really comfortable until they play Duke because they don't have to play Arizona. They don't have to play one of the SEC teams again. I think if they play a Wisconsin or a BYU, I think they're fine winning track meets in both those games. But that's the only one I've really delved the only region I've delved all the way down into, other than Mizzou's. But yeah, brackets. We'll pick one on Wednesday's show for the end, just for fun, see how we do. Should we do we want to do a Final Four, Peyton, or you want to wait?
If I just snap, and this will probably change by the time we record, Final Four, I got to stick to my guns. I think Auburn is going to make it out of that region. I think I'm going to stay Duke. It'll be chalky, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to go with Houston. That's 3 1 seeds. And I'm taking the West is tough. There's 3, and they're all the top 3 seeds. But I love Florida, St. John's, and Texas Tech to make a run. I'm going to go with Pitino Magic, and I'm going to go with St. John's making it to the Final Four.
Oh, the one other thing I'm sad about, I'm sad for Georgia. I wanted them off the 8 line because I think they can beat somebody, but they have to play Gonzaga. That's going to be really hard, and then they're getting.
They could give Houston issues. Does Houston have anyone? Does Houston have anyone that can really match Newell?
Yeah, I mean, all of them collectively. I mean,
but still,
Roberts can guard him.
I know, but like that's like, it's just like you're not going to get a lot of open shots from deep against Houston. You're going to just kind of have to play a grimy, ISO style.
That's what Georgia does.
Newell could do that.
Yeah,
absolutely. They could give them some issues.
But
Gonzaga's a tough matchup for
Georgia. I thought Georgia. I wanted to pick Georgia to win a game or two, and picking them over Houston is going to be tough. I do think it could go how that Houston-Texas A&M game went, similar to that, where they make it close by just grinding it, playing Houston style a bit. Snap Final Four. Auburn. This is going to be really bad because I'm going to have 3 SEC teams in it. Auburn, Florida, Alabama.
You gotta give it up with this Alabama thing, man. They're trending down.
I think you might be right. I think Florida might just be a wagon. We'll see.
How is Alabama beating Duke? I just don't see that.
I don't know. Because Liberty's gonna beat Duke.
Liberty's gonna beat Duke
on a run. I said snap. Again, it'll probably end up changing. I'll probably lose my faith.
Who was your last one?
I was thinking about it. You know what? This will be my wild card one. Clemson goes one step further. I like Clemson.
Clemson's a bit dangerous. I could see it.
They can score. I think they're getting downgraded because the ACC was awful. I think they truly were the second best team in that league. They beat Duke. I think they could do it. I think they can have a run in them.
You look, the ACC was bad this year, but there are 3 really good teams. I cannot believe Louisville is an 8.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Yeah, they got.
But Duke is great. I think Clemson's really good. I think Louisville's really good.
Yeah, I'm already thinking it's probably going to be Duke and not Alabama.
Yeah,
Duke is so good. They get flagged back. All right, there you go. There's some bracket talk. We will obviously we'll pick one. We'll preview the Drake game for the Drake game on Thursday. And yeah, we'll keep you guys in the loop for that. For now, I will throw it over to our good friend Kenny Van Doren. He will take you the rest of the way with quick hits.
All right, quick hits time. Just Peyton and I for this segment. Peyton, I brought this up to you, I think maybe a couple weeks ago. It was one of my final times doing trivia in Houston before I moved to Missouri. And one of the questions on there was like naming the most championships, depending on men's or women's in the NCAA, just all time. And I think I gave you some of those just as some pointers, but I just thought I'd run down just through a couple of them. Pretty just quick hitters if you just have some fun answers, if you just know the answer to. But I'll go through the ones that, I got when I was doing this trivia. And the first one is baseball, Division I baseball. Who has the most with 12 NCAA championships?
I do remember you telling me about this, and you're going to be a little upset with me, I think, because I remember like none of the answers you gave me. Baseball 12. It's an SEC school, right?
It is not.
Wow. How about
it is a school that actually recently changed conferences.
So it's in the Big Ten now?
Correct.
So it was in the Pac-12, wasn't it?
Correct.
UCLA.
It is not UCLA. It is
Damn.
USC with 12.
That is unbelievable for baseball.
Yeah, there's a famous photo of some USC guys holding up a trophy. Women's basketball. This one's kind of an easy one with 11.
11. UConn.
That is correct. It is UConn. I'm gonna go down here to men's golf. I think it's just 16. Yep, 16.
Is it an SEC school?
It is not an SEC school.
What conference?
Big 12 now.
Big 12 now.
Yes, recently joined the Big 12 from the American.
Oh, so there's like Cougars, UCF, Cincinnati. Those would be the options there. Florida's a big golf state. I'm going to have to go UCF, Kenny.
It's Houston, which is a
No
little bit
way,
surprising.
Cougs?
Yeah, Texas has the most recent success with 2 titles. Auburn won the 2024 title. When I did this, I did put Texas. I was between that and SMU, but SMU is kind of fairly newer with golf success. So I was thinking it was Texas. Going down here, women's Division I soccer.
Women's Division 1. UNC.
It is UNC.
Yeah.
Women's Division I tennis.
I'm going to need hints on this one.
This school, I think, has like 8,000 undergrad students, but it has the most NCAA championships of any school. Every year they are in the top discussion for how many championships they win just across the board.
Is it an SEC school?
It's not SEC. It is now ACC.
Now ACC. How recent ACC?
The last year. I think me saying that the school is always in the conversation for the most total NCAA championships every year should give that away. This is a
Is it
very big
SMU?
school. Is not SMU.
Cal?
Is not Cal, but you're getting closer.
Stanford.
It is Stanford. Stanford has 20 in women's tennis.
Didn't know that. Couldn't have
it's a
told
big
you
one.
if it had won.
Just another quick one I thought was good on here. Oklahoma, has had a lot of success for titles recently in softball. Most recent this past year in 2024, but UCLA has the most with 13. Tom Brady's niece played on one of those teams in recent memory. But I thought that was a fun one. Just kind of going through that.
Is men's, just before we leave this, is men's basketball UCLA still?
It is UCLA, yes.
Okay.
Men's gymnastics. Penn State.
Did not know there was men's
12.
gymnastics.
Yeah, neither did I. Football, of course, Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and I thought this was a fun one. Just thought we'd go through that, but move on just with the rest of quick hits. My Tiger in the Wild. This is kind of just a rotating thing every week to see what Mizzou football posts on who's at practice. Ennis Rakestraw came and gave Al Pogue a signed jersey for the Lions. Watching with us on the YouTube, you can see it there, the nice blue. Al Pogue said, "I was once told to use your influence in a positive manner. Man, I'm so blessed. Thank you, God, for choosing me to be a part of their journey. These small tokens of appreciation from my former players are a big deal to me. Hashtag MIZ, hashtag brotherhood, hashtag secondary to none." Just really cool to see Al Pogue kind of getting rewarded from his own players that have gotten to the NFL. We had Cad last week. Gets his jersey from Ennis now.
That is cool. I mean, that's arguably the best cornerback duo Missouri has ever had. I'd be hard pressed to see if they ever top that one, to be honest with you. And obviously, Al Pogue had a big part in that. I know you've told me before, like, recruits just adore Al Pogue. They think he's hilarious. So,
Yeah.
Not surprising that his former players have a lot of love for him.
Big hoodie guy. I'll just throw that out there. He's always in a hood, it seems like. I know it's a little bit cooler right now, but him and Blake Baker used to wear hoodies out in 90-degree weather, 100-degree weather too. So just football guys through and through. Payton, Tiger in the Wild.
My Tiger in the Wild is going to be Helen Hu. Mizzou gymnastics has been just red hot lately, and Helen Hu has been a big part of that. She got another perfect 10 against Arkansas on the balance beam. She's the only gymnast with 2 perfect 10s on the balance beam in 2025. Missouri also did beat Arkansas in their final regular season meet, I believe it was. So I think they're moving on to the SEC championships now.
There was a woman, I think, at Auburn or UCLA a couple years ago who did a floor routine, and she got a perfect 10. And it was just like this, just out of nowhere. You haven't seen this in a while. And then I know Helen who's not doing it on the floor routine, but just getting 2 10s in the same season, pretty incredible. I just thought of this too, looking at this reply. Someone said Helen Mizzou. I thought Mizzou, that's who, but spell it with her last name instead, because I know that's a kind of a saying, and there's a podcast out there that has the same name. So I thought that'd be good advertising. Jack's Tiger in the Wild goes to Eli Drinkwitz. Not too far down the road from where I am. I think I did hear him talking really loudly into a microphone. I'm just kidding. But he did say, he did post on Twitter. I don't know if you saw this, Payton, but he said, any advice at, who was it? What's that, the soccer TV show? Oh man, this is bad. You got to know what I'm talking about.
Ted Lasso?
Ted Lasso. Yeah, he said at Ted Lasso.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, they're the same person.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's like tagging yourself almost.
Yeah. Kind of going through here in the photos, don't really recognize everyone. Seems like there might be some newer guys in here, but that is Brett Norfleet. There in the middle.
Mullet,
so maybe he brought some of his St. Louis guys with him to St. Louis to watch this game.
Did St. Louis City win?
That's a good question. I don't watch soccer. I don't watch MLS.
Yeah, fair.
I'm going to say yes by some of these posts.
Man, Drink's been well traveled the last couple days. He was down in Nashville for the tournament game as well, and then had to zip up to St. Louis. Probably take a break, Drink, just get back home for a little.
It never ends.
Well, clearly,
that's funny too, because this weekend was a big recruiting weekend, but he still got back to spend some time in Columbia too.
Was it that big
junior
then?
day on? It was a junior day on Saturday, so he got back, got to see the guys. Yeah. Headlines: women's softball finishes 4-0. I don't even say why I say women's, but softball finishes Mizzou Invitational with a 4-0 record, putting a thump on Quinnipiac 7-1 in their final game of the weekend. Yeah, good performance from the softball program.
Yeah, they kind of needed this. I don't think any of these games were close. I know they played Michigan as well. I think South Dakota State was there. I don't remember the fourth team, to be honest with you, but they have really struggled. The pitching in particular has been rough. I think they're at 16-13 now. They got swept by Kentucky, so hopefully this is kind of like a switch flipper. They play UMKC before they get back into the SEC play. And I mean, yeah, Quinnipiac's a 4-12 team, so doesn't mean it's a game you absolutely should win, like some of these, but sometimes all it takes is just, seeing yourself play well. Hopefully that just, Missouri's pitchers had a season best 11 strikeouts against Quinnipiac, so hopefully that kickstarts something for them.
Yeah. Moved on. Your headline, Payton?
My headline is going to be from Missouri's website, just athletics website. Sarah Mees crowned national champion. Men finish in top 25 NCAA indoor track and field championships. Yes, folks, Missouri has a national champion. Jonathan Saramis, who I believe is a true freshman. He won the triple jump national championship on Saturday. It was a good week for Missouri in general. I know some people were like really hyping up Saramis, and I'm really sorry if I'm mispronouncing that right. I'm pretty sure that's correct though. I mean, like people are saying like this is a guy that's going to maybe be an Olympian. Kenny, you're a former track guy, cross country guy. You can speak on this better than me. But saw Missouri had a national champion, figured it was worth putting out there.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these other ones that finished on here. Claudina Diaz. I remember her when I was covering the team in the high jump. I believe she's. I mean, there's a lot of foreign students when you get into track and field because there's a lot of great competitors from Mexico, Europe, South America. A lot of different countries and different regions of the world, and she was in there. I remember her name. Ethnie Andre. Was she the one that was in the? Yeah, wasn't she in the journalism school with us?
Oh,
I believe she
man, you
was.
just like opened a box of memories. Was she in the sports J class?
I believe so. She was
Pete
very active
Bland?
in it. Yeah.
Yeah, she was. There were a few. There was a couple from the women's golf team as well. I remember. Shout out, senior year sports J with Pete Bland. All we did was chop it up about sports, pretty much.
Yeah. She got 6th in the triple jump, for those who are wondering. 44 feet, 5.5 inches. Personal record. Good for her. Moving on. Jack's headline, not really a headline. He's the one who made up this segment and didn't even give us a headline this week. But this comes from NBA World on X. ChatGPT predicts the next 75 NBA champions. Thoughts? I will start it off by saying that sometimes on here there are teams that just don't exist, and then there are some teams that aren't actually in the NBA.
Yeah, so the Seattle Supersonics are making a resurgence and winning quickly. They are going to win the 2035, the Las Vegas Jackrabbits, because there's a space in between them. They're going to win the Mexico City Aztecs, the Beijing Dragons. Boy, the Supersonics become the class of the NBA. They're on here a lot. The San Diego Waves. My favorite one, though, hey, good for you, Kenny. The Rockets get a couple in here. Is definitely 2090 when the Edmonton Oilers of the National Hockey League just break up a three-peat from the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't have much to add here. I think this is a flawless list. It's pretty funny that of all the Oilers are gonna have the same amount of titles as the Charlotte Hornets by 2104, according to ChatGPT. That should say a lot.
It's a deep fried Oilers logo too. It's not the regular blue and orange.
Yeah, I don't know why
one.
it looks like that.
Maybe they make an NBA team called the Oilers.
Using
this
that
just kind of
logo.
shows you AI is close, just not all the way there yet. So we still have a couple more years of being humans before we're all turned into robots. Yeah, give it up for ChatGPT to figure this out.
Yeah, they gave it an effort. That's all I can say. They tried, Kenny.
Payton, give me a joke.
Oh, Kenny, I've got a doozy for you. This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. I just got a pop-up ad from Al Roker himself. Kenny, what did the janitor say when he jumped out of the closet? It's a classic.
Man, all clean now? I don't know.
All clean now?
I really have no idea. This one doesn't sound very good.
He jumped out and said, "Supplies."
That's good. Yeah, that's a good one. What's going to do it for the unwritten rule? I kick Payton after that one, but we'll all be back on Friday. Yeah, I can't believe this one's coming out on Monday, but tournament action right around the corner. We'll have all the coverage on Friday, some recaps, some predictions, see if Mizzou makes it a little bit further in the NCAA tournament. But until then, enjoy your week and enjoy the best part of college basketball, the best time of year. It's like a second Christmas. We'll see you next time.